I have the pleasure of introducing Carlo Capua, who is from Fort Worth, Texas, and many who are board members know him. He served on the board as the youth ambassador, the young professional, and now he's the chair of the honorary board. But right now he has a, like the rest of us try navigating, he has a full-time job. He is the deputy chief of staff to the mayor and city council of Fort Worth, Texas. And his topic, you're gonna really like this, is From the White House to Whiskey Barrels, Sister Cities and Startups Do Go Together. Carlo.
Well, Mary, thank you so much. What an honor to be here and see so many familiar faces. And I have to say, when I said whiskey, I noticed Kathleen Roach-Tansey's eyes get really big and get excited. So Kathleen, this one's for you. It's great to see everyone. You know, I was talking to Mary about Sister Cities and looking way back at the mission. And remember that day, September 11th, 1956, was when President Eisenhower hosted the Summit on Citizen Diplomacy. So Mary and I spent the weekend down in the Sister Cities archives, unearthing some of the original footage. And what I'd like to do is just to take a step back. Sometimes it's easy to look forward when you take a look back. So I present to you President Eisenhower's original footage from that Summit on Citizen Diplomacy. Here we go.
I'm emboldened to talk because the purpose of this meeting is the most worthwhile purpose there is in the world today. To help build the road to peace. To help build the road to an enduring peace. And the particular part of the work that we expect to do is based upon the assumption that no people as such wants war, that all people want peace. We know this to be a true assumption, but we know also that in certain portions of the world it is not understood as such. Now, if we are going to take advantage of the assumption that all people want peace, then the problem is for people to get together, to leap governments, if necessary, but I am talking about the exchange of professors and students and executives, the providing of technical assistance and the ordinary traveler abroad, about doctors helping in the conquering of disease. Thank you very much for your attention.
So I think it's important for us occasionally to remember why we started, remember how we started. And I love that video. Obviously, it's much longer, but I think when President Eisenhower originally envisioned this, people to people, he never would have dreamed that we'd have so much business to business. The people to people is the front porch, and it opens the front door for businesses to come, because at the end of the day, we all want to do business with people we know, we like, and we trust. And Sister Cities is all about building trust. One great example, there have been a lot of case studies about businesses, especially in the U.S., that have landed major business deals because of the sister city relationship their city had with another city. We captured some great footage from San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg. I just wanted to play you a brief clip about his city landing a manufacturing plant from Toyota Motors, which has totally changed the economic face of the city. We'll show it to you here.
Well, we have a long-standing sister city relationship in which I was able to celebrate the 30-year anniversary a few years ago with Kumamoto, Japan. And I think our relationship with Kumamoto is substantial and also is somewhat of a prototype when cities are looking to see how a relationship can develop in the different ways that it evolves. Our relationship with Kumamoto is a wonderful example. It started really with friendship, with simple friendship between people, and that paved the way for a formal sister city pairing that was signed in 1987 between San Antonio and Kumamoto. Obviously, a lot of exchange between the cities in the intervening years, artistic, educational, cultural exchanges, and even some economic partnership. And that ultimately culminated in something that I think San Antonio is known for now, which is an advanced manufacturing cluster that is formed around Toyota motor manufacturing. And the story on Toyota is significant because at the time that Toyota was looking to establish its major North American plant, San Antonio was not really on the list. But because of the strong friendship ties between San Antonio and Kumamoto, there was conversations that were generated about San Antonio and potential partnership with regard to Toyota. And eventually the decision was made is that Toyota's presence now has really changed the shape, changed the nature of the San Antonio economy. With Toyota, along with other major manufacturers that have noticed the talent development because of the workforce needs of Toyota, we now have a aerospace manufacturing cluster, as well as biotech and biosciences. And we have the supply chains that have developed around each of those sectors as well. And today, I'm very happy to say we have not only one of our largest employers in the manufacturing sector, with all of those different companies now in San Antonio and growing and thriving in San Antonio and the educational communities supporting their growth. We also have the presence of several dozen more Japanese companies. So it's been an ecosystem not only of manufacturing that has developed as a result of the relationship with Japan, but also a very strong binational presence for multinational and international companies that are based in San Antonio as well as in Japan.
So isn't that incredible, the number of the billions of dollars, the tens of thousands of jobs created just from one initial sister city partnership? So my question to all of you is, who is your Toyota, right? It only takes one partnership, developing the trust, and it could really move the needle on what you're doing in your business community. I wanted to share one last little thing with you, and this is from an exchange that we had here in our town in Fort Worth, Texas. And if you think of Texas, you probably think of barbecue. But I'm here to tell you that you can also think of Texas as pickles and whiskey. And we have two businesses, Best Made Pickles and TX Whiskey. And we were really trying to get them involved in our Sister Cities program here. And we thought, you know what? I know the Japanese love whiskey, and I bet we could make them love pickles, by the way, because, they go well hand in hand. And so for 2 weeks, we went over to our sister city and we fed them pickles. You can see the coverage that we got. They loved the pickles. And we also served them a ton of whiskey. So folks, for 2 weeks in northern Japan, most of the population was very dehydrated from all the pickles and whiskey that we fed them nonstop. But, one of the things I love about Sister Cities is that even if you're there for business, you're always there for friendship. When we got there with our delegation, this was the group that met us at the airport, and we've had a great relationship with Nagaoka, Japan. In the end, we learned that importing this whiskey to Japan was so expensive that right now wasn't necessarily the best time. But the gentleman on the left was the CEO of this company. He never would have gone to Japan had it not been for this business. And he is now a believer in Sister City. So it was a great story, a great experience. We're looking to recruit more businesses and hopefully have our own Toyota moment right here in Fort Worth. So just a little reassurance that it's out there. We just have to kind of find it. Sasha, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Wow. I'm so inspired by Eisenhower every time I see that speech. And I do think that we should do a whiskey tasting next roundtable, if that's possible, Mary. Yeah, so, just thank you, Mary, for inviting me. I want to share a little bit about myself real fast. I'm an entrepreneur myself, Chief Marketing Officer for SmartTab. We are a startup here in Denver. Recently, I was named as the Medical Marketing Media Magazine for the under 40. I'm passionate about sister cities and startups, so I'm looking forward to what we can discover today. And I think this is why Mary asked me to moderate this panel today, because there's just such a something here that I'm in this inquiry of, like, how do we really bring our startup to sister cities and really work together to grow. We're here based in Denver, Colorado. And so I want to give you a quick example of a few exchanges that I've done in the past with startups from Brest, France, our sister city of Denver, the longest and oldest sister city of Denver. So one of the things that we have going on in Denver is Denver Startup Week. And this was really an anchor event that it gave us an opportunity to give an invitation for the startups to come to Denver. And not only did we invite the startups, but we also had a city delegation track as well. And so we've done this about three times now, and it really worked well to do 2-track itinerary, where you have the city track, you've got meetings prepared for a city delegation to meet with Parks and Rec and all the city arts and venues, climate office, etc. And then you work with the startups to find out what their needs are and what are they looking for in our city. And so we created these curated meetings for them to create business development as well as find new clients. And so the startups that have visited Denver from Brest are listed right here. Some really cool companies. And here's just an example right here. We got Ben, the brewer from Brasserie du Barrel. This is Benoit. And he was actually interviewed on the Modern Drinker radio show. So that was really cool. We had meetings, interviews with the Beer Association. But also when I went to Brest, one of the things I realized that they have in common, which I think a lot of cities that are on this call have in common, is these places where startups gather, where people come together to innovate, to create their companies. And one of these places is called La Village in Brest. And so I made a visit over there. And then here we have The Corner, which they really had some cool, innovative companies out there doing some really awesome things. So how can we really bring these startups to Denver and have them see our city as an opportunity to expand to the US? That's the question I'm in for this conversation today. Right here is one of the entrepreneurs in Brest. He's a bar entrepreneur, and this was the launching of his new bar, La Maison Bleue. We have 2 wonderful speakers that I invited today. Charles from Braze America, who's going to speak about the amazing startup competitions that he's done in Brest. One of them actually included Denver. And then Tim Martinez, who's our global business development rock star in Denver. And he's going to speak about the global landing pad that they've created and how we've collaborated with the Global Business Development Department to actually grow these programs. And so he'll speak about that. But really, why are we here? This is about exploring amazing serendipities that can happen when startups and sister cities come together. So what do we mean by that? You know, people think about New York City and LA when they think about expanding to the USA. But what if we can attract companies from our sister cities to see our city as their access to the US market? Can sister city committees help attract companies to their city by creating these startup exchanges, immersion experiences, and creating that global friendship? What if they saw our city as a landing pad? Okay, well, what better place to start than with our US Embassy? I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to our first speaker today, who's gonna speak about all things international and how the US Embassy should be your first stop.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mary, for inviting me to be here. It's almost 9 o'clock at night, so hopefully my brain is fully in this, but I'll do my best. And I do want to clarify, I know I agreed on this title of the embassy should be your first stop, but realistically, it should be what's your nearest diplomatic mission? Because I myself do not work at an embassy. Here in France, we have numerous multiple diplomatic missions. We have the embassy in Paris, obviously, consulates general in Marseille and in Strasbourg, and then American presence posts in Rennes, Bordeaux, and Lyon. So I heard people talking about Brest. Obviously, that would be up near Rennes. We have a guy, Eric, who works there, who's fantastic and will do wonderful things to help any businesses looking to expand into that region. I know we have what was it, Biarritz, which is in the Bordeaux region, and that's for you, Mr. Hall. I believe that will be your sister city, and we have Alexander, who's there, who can do things for you. I saw Toulon on here, and down the list, I saw somebody from San Diego, which is working on a relationship with Marseille. That's in my district. You can come to me. We have many missions across France that can help you here. And I think we can help in a number of ways. I'll admit, smaller posts, you're looking outside of the embassy in Paris. The embassy in Paris has 1,000 people working in it. You come outside, we have 20 in the consulate in Marseille, but that doesn't mean we're any less helpful. And in fact, I think it actually kind of gives us a little advantage in that the personal touch is there in terms of helping smaller businesses and startups and things that aren't multinational corporations. Toyota may not use us because of the foreign commercial service in Paris, and Coca-Cola may not come to me because they can go through channels other than ours. But for the startups, for the smaller businesses, we're ideal because we are down here. We're in the South in our region in this case. We have connections throughout the business community. We have connections throughout local governments, regional governments, national government, everything else. And so if you come to us, we can answer some questions. So what type of business are you? We can tell you if in our region there's a place that's particularly good for you. We have in the south of France, a place called Sophia Antipolis out in Antibes, which is near Nice, which is actually a technology hub. And they also act as a platform, cluster, and creation hub for startups that currently has 2,500-ish companies operating out of there, a large number of which are American. We actually threw a 4th of July party there, along with a bunch of American companies because there are so many. We have the contacts not only in the management of this cluster hub, but also in the companies themselves. So you come to us, it's not necessarily what we can do for you, but it's the people we know who we can, and we can set you up with people, we can set you up with places, we can make introductions, we can make sure that you are reaching the people you need to reach to best suit your business. Now, this can be chambers of commerce like CCI or AmCham. This can be incubators and clusters that we personally have contact with, like Sophia Antipolis, but also it can be with economic development agencies. You have regional ones such as ADOC in Occitanie, Rising Sud here in Marseille, and Team Côte d'Azur, which is out kind of towards the Italian coast, that specialize in attracting US companies in terms of investment. So if you're looking to expand here, or you have companies in your sister city that you think would benefit from a lot of sister cities, I mean, you have your sisters for a reason. So when you look at Toulon and sister city of Norfolk, I mean, there's a lot of things you have in common in terms of the industries that are there, the fact that you're the major naval port of a large company, of a large country, all of the industry, defense contracting, and thing that comes around that, all of that you have in common. Toulon, that being in our district, we know the people, we know the businesses, we know the agriculture, but who knows even better than us are these people who are specifically, they're paid by the local governments to bring you people in. The kinds of things they can help with is wide ranging, and that we can help with is connecting you with the right people, not just for business to business introductions, but also finding people to help determine where the right fit would be for your startup, or if, you know, the sister city pairing would actually provide opportunities for you. Introducing you to potential partners, providing information on immigration and tax issues, very active assistance with site selection, recruitment of talent. I mean, every step of the way through establishing yourself, what they call aftercare, where once you're set up, how to be profitable, how to best benefit from the ties you have between the US and France, and how to best take advantage of that relationship for tax purposes and everything else. these are people that we know. These are people that we work with on a regular basis, that we connect with regularly, and we are happy to bring you into the fold. Make sure you meet the people that are worth meeting, and you're not wasting your time with those that you aren't. And and it's not just in Marseille, it's obviously anywhere in France, anywhere internationally. I'm focused in France, but honestly, it's anywhere. And so these are the sorts of things we can do. So if you're thinking of spreading overseas, or investing overseas, or expanding overseas, or you have companies in your city or your region that you think would be, make sure we're your first call, because from that first call, we can tell you every call you need to make from there, and we can make the process a lot easier. There's no point reinventing the wheel, because we've already seen it, we've already been there, and we're happy to help you do the same. Thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Wow, what a fantastic resource. How do we contact you? What's the best way to get in touch?
Personally, I put my email in the chats up in the beginning, and you can reach out to me. But in terms of any of the other posts in France, if you go to the Embassy Paris website, actually all of the missions in France have our website centrally located from the Paris page, and there's a tab on the side that specifically lists out constituent posts, and there is a point of contact email address in all of them. And because the posts are so small, it's not a personal email address. Like, the email address that's on there won't just go to me, it will go to me and 5 other staff members. So any email you send is guaranteed to be read, because it has a wider distribution that covers a large percentage of the staff in any given post, and they'll get back to you and be able to work with you on these issues, or answer any questions you may have on the possibilities of expanding into our territory.
Well, that's fantastic. Thanks so much. Thanks, Russell.
Or you could just come to me, and I'll give you the email address of whoever you want. I'm happy to do that too.
Perfect. Thank you. Now we're going to pass it on to Douglas Hall from Santa Cruz, who's going to talk about the amazing climate change, blue-green jobs partnership that's going on over there at Santa Cruz, and I believe it's Biarritz. That's the partner city. So, Doug, are you still with us here?
I am.
All right, perfect. Pass it on to you.
Thanks. What we're doing it, Biarritz is the first new sister city relationship for Santa Cruz in 35 years. And Santa Cruz is only the 4th sister city that Biarritz has ever had. And it turns out to be an excellent fit, because the profiles of both cities are a very close match. Santa Cruz, as most of you know, is a huge center for surf, but it turns out that Biarritz is probably one of the biggest centers for surf as well in Europe. And both have technological hubs for startups, as well as a passion for the environment. So what we decided, in conjunction with the vice mayor of Biarritz, is to add a layer of relevant topic to every event that we stage and produce for sister cities in Santa Cruz, whether it's with Biarritz, and which we're using as a locomotive or as the wedge to drive the change, but also with our sister cities in Japan, Xingu, and Sestri Levante in Italy. And that means that what we're doing is creating a forum. The very first one will be in September. In both cities, we agreed that September is a month that we want to concentrate our efforts on in order to extend the tourism season, because both Biarritz and Santa Cruz are heavily driven by tourist traffic. And what we're working with is the Ocean Climate Platform, a nonprofit in Europe, which is partly funded by the Prince of Monaco Foundation and a number of conglomerate in the insurance and reinsurance sector. And what we're doing is staging the very first science-based forum for the Ocean Climate Platform on the West Coast. They've just held one in Brest 10 days ago with the One Ocean Summit, which was incredibly well attended. and they were part of the organizing committee for that summit. And now we're going to be focusing in Santa Cruz on coastal erosion, green, blue, or mostly blue job creation, and mobilizing local startup to see if we can maybe develop something like the global landing pad that you guys have. And I want to talk to you about that some more afterwards, or after this this meeting, because it might be a template that we can use. We're working with the Ocean Conservancy and the University of California, who is extremely invested in coastal erosion and sea level rise studies. We'll have also a startup component as well as a surfing component focused on elite junior surfers who are trying to break into the professional ranks, and elite lifeguard teams. It turns out that the one in there's a very, very active lifeguard organization in Biarritz that has 1,600 adherents or members, of which 600 are active every day, and they compete at the international level in Europe. And they're going to send a small delegation of junior elite lifeguards to compete here as well. But the main focus is going to be on climate change as it relates both to research, science, and academic research, as well as to startups that are launching products that address part of that field.
Okay, well, that is there anything else, Doug, that you want to share about this upcoming exchange?
No, it'll be an annual event. The focus will remain the same. So next year in 2023, it will be held in Biarritz with more cities involved, because they're trying to form an alliance somewhat outside of sister cities, but with other coastal cities, small coastal cities, and are recruiting aggressively so that the 2023 event will be larger in scale than the 2022 event. But the idea is that every September, there will be an active and visible event going on in one of the cities.
Oh, that's fantastic. Wow. And it's so cool to hear about a city that has so much in common with each other. Denver and Brest are so different, so in some ways, but that you guys have that common piece, it's really cool to see how that can help with both of your efforts in both cities. So now, since you're curious about the global landing pad, we should pass it on to Tim to start diving into Denver's global landing pad and just tell us about this program and how maybe potentially, you know, other cities can use this as a template for bringing startups to their city. Tim, are you still on? Okay, there you are.
I am, yep.
Perfect.
Yep, thanks, Sasha. And will I be able to do a quick presentation?
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen. Should work.
I will go ahead and do so. And Sasha, just want to let you know that in second grade, I dressed up like Gene Simmons of KISS. And that's probably the last time I was called a rock star. So I appreciate your giving me those kudos.
Yeah.
This presentation I did last year for some companies in Brest that were interested in coming out to the Global Landing Pad program. So I'm going to skip through some of the slides. They're not going to be completely relevant, but I think when we get to the end, you'll see that that a lot are. Brest and Denver is our oldest sister city relationship, dating back to 1948. There's been a ton of collaboration. Sasha, you've been a big part of that, and you've talked about, you know, your trips to Brest and some other folks that have come to visit Denver from Brest. Our mayor's gone that direction. They've had large delegations come this direction. We have what we call a city-to-city relationship where we share innovation and partnership. And so we've had a really, really collaborative relationship all the way down from our schools to our culture, to our city, to our businesses. And so we're not 100% twins, but we have enough liking of each other that we continue to maintain our relationship as we move forward. I'm not going to talk a lot about Denver. We're located in the middle of the country. We've got a fast growing population. Our businesses are great. We have to show this slide typically when we talk to folks from other countries, because everybody's like, we know of Dynasty and Mork and Mindy, but we don't really know where Denver's located. So it's always fun to show them that we're in the middle of the country. We've got a lot of big companies, got a diverse mix of global companies. We've got a strong consular corps and 26 international destinations served by Denver International Airport. We take economic development differently for our city. We really look at our startups as being important. So startup, scale up, grow up. And Toyota, maybe others, Toyota, but for us, our Toyotas in Brest and other parts of the world are startups. So we're attracting companies that are scaling, and we want to help them do that in the US. About the Denver, the Global Business Development Team in 2018, Mayor Hancock, who's very globally minded himself. He's been to, I think, all 11 of our sister cities. He was a fellow when he was younger. He was a foreign exchange student when he was in school. And so he created a team of 3 people whose whole job is just to make Denver more globally relevant. And part of that then is the creation of our global landing pad program, which was started with the intent of helping companies from other countries land in Denver. It was a live program where the cohort would go through a series of educational trainings all at one time. And so this cohort that you see there, you'll see Captain Vet from Brest was one of our original participants, along with companies from, I see Mexico, I see Canada, Australia. So it's a pretty neat program that we do as a way to get Denver to welcome in a diverse set of companies from all over the world. We do it twice a year, and what you can expect is really introductions using the Rolodex from the city's connectivity to be able to introduce you into partners, founders, funders, just really everything that you need to know when you're coming to the US, and then a lot of education. How do you get your visa? How do you open an account? How do you get your licensing and registration? How do you open a bank account? How do you find a place to live? All the things that you need to know that most people kind of need to figure out on their own when they're coming to another country, from another country. The program started immediately after Mayor Hancock created our global business development team. In 2019, we had 9 companies that came in. It was live, and it was what we would consider to be a pretty successful event. Captain Vet was there with Audrey, and the companies then, the landing pad finalized on Friday, and on Monday, it went straight into Denver Startup Week, which is the largest free entrepreneurial event of its kind. So when you come to Denver during that week, you have like free breakfast bar in the morning. At lunch, it's a free salad bar. And at night, it's like a free open bar. And so it's really a great way to all of a sudden have 24 of your new best friends in Denver, going from event to event to event. 2020, it grew to 15 companies. Because of the pandemic, we had to make it virtual. And it actually turned out better because we could get bigger companies, a higher level of participation from the CEOs, and they were able to engage better because they didn't have to commit 2 weeks of coming to another country and ignoring their business back home. They were able to split their time a little bit better. In 2021, we had another 16 companies. And then in the fall of 2021, we had 15 more companies. And right now we are welcoming in another 13 companies for our spring of 2022. The relationship we have specifically with Brest through our, what we call a city-to-city program, is we have 3 slots always open to a Brest company that wants to participate. So we do these presentations. We'll try and encourage them to come. We'll treat them a little bit better, a little bit more special. And we'll just continue that collaboration between Denver and Brest as we continue to grow and move forward. Talked about Denver Startup Week. Don't need to talk about that again. And these are the three people on our global business development team that amazingly enough, we didn't slow down much during the pandemic. So there is still a lot of interest in what happens with Denver and all of our international counterparts. I did put my information in the chat, and I'm certainly happy to chat with anybody offline or if anybody has questions throughout this presentation as well.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll be going into Q&A here shortly.
And I will just add that Vanessa, whose name you see on there, is on the Denver Sister Cities International Organization's Board of Directors. And so our program is very engaged with what's happening on the sister city level as well.
Yeah, it's been super, super valuable. I don't know that every city has a global business development department, but we've been so grateful that Denver has that resource for us.
My name is Charles Cagalvan. I'm president of Braze America. Braze America is a nonprofit organization that's based in two places, Brittany and America. And if you're a fan maybe of France, you probably didn't visit Brittany for some reason because you went somewhere else. So what we try to do is build bridges between Brittany and the USA. That's really important. And we spoke about here before one thriving sister city program, which is Denver and Brest, that is doing amazing things on multi-levels. But there's also a great one in Rennes and Rochester. And if you go a little bit south, Nantes has two of them with the US. So Brittany is in a special region that has a special connection with the US that's historical. We all know about the 13 colonies, and we all know the French came. Lafayette was not alone. He had a lot of help and a lot of boats, and all those boats left from Brittany. We have tracked over 3,000 Breton sailors died during the American Revolution. And that connection has gone throughout. Benjamin Franklin arrived in Brittany when he needed help, when he was asking help from the King of France. During World War I, all the troops landed in Brest, and the city of Brest was transformed since then. Over 4,000 GIs lost their life freeing the city of Brest during World War II. So our two regions have an amazing connection, and very often a lot of Americans don't know this. They think of Brittany and they think of crepes. So our nonprofit, we're only volunteers, we really decided to do something to change that. So we also knew that there were a lot of entrepreneurs. There was a lot of innovation happening in Brittany. So we started something called the Braze America Startup Contest. And we said, we got to help these guys. There's a lot of innovation here, but as I heard before, Denver is not New York and it's not San Francisco. And Brittany isn't Paris, and that's a good thing. But it doesn't mean there's not a lot of interesting tech, interesting startups, and a lot of entrepreneurs. So we decided to do a special program just for them. And we would select 3 or 4 companies each year that would travel to the US to find out what it means to do business in the US. Really, marketing and sales, because I can tell you, sales and marketing is not the same in France as it is in the US. Understanding all the legal hassles, because they can be called that. There are 40,000 lawyers in Chicago. There are 40,000 lawyers in all of France. So you can understand the complexity of creating an affiliate. If you're doing food products, what does the FDA require that the French government doesn't? There's a whole list of things. But also what's really important is money. You can't do business in the US if you don't have any. But guess what? There's amazing angels and venture capitalists in the US. A lot more of them with a lot bigger bank accounts than in France. So when we did this program, we didn't know what was going to happen. I remind you, we're not a government agency or anything like that. We're just volunteers and a nonprofit. In 4 years, 150 startups have decided to participate in our programs. 15 of them went to New York City for a 1-week accelerator program over 4 years. They liked America so much in those 7 days in the US, a lot of them have gone to other cities. And Denver has been lucky enough to have a few of them. I heard their names before: ND Mac, Captain Vet, Hotel Skipper. All of them were initially winners of the Braze America Startup Contest. So we're sort of giving wings to a lot of companies to be able to kind of look at the US market as something that is not impossible, that it is doable if you have people that are helping you along the way, from sister cities to the Global Launchpad, which is an amazing program in Denver, to nonprofits like us. We also feel that culture is a great way to move into the economy. So we don't only do economic programs, we also do cultural programs where we take traditional musicians from Brittany, because Brittany has its very strong identity, its own language, its own music, its own dance, and we put them with American artists who play contemporary music. And we tell them, guys, let's do something really cool. And since we've been doing this over the last 5 years, they've actually toured in over 25 US cities. So I've heard a few cities here that we have not visited in this virtual Zoom here. Maybe we should visit your city next. We've never gone to Denver yet, so we have to change that. I've put in the chat here our website. Would love to exchange with you. Warm regards to my friends here, Sasha and Tim. You guys are awesome. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Awesome, Charles. Thank you so much. That was great. Yeah, and so do contact Charles if you have any questions or want to connect with him around Braze America and the incredible programming that they're doing.
I put together, that San Antonio story was so good. I've got a link to it.
Excellent.
I'm going to post something in the chat, a document you can download. It has a few other case studies, so you can see exactly what cities did once they had that sister city relationship in order to capitalize on that to bring hard dollars to their cities. Give me just a second as we wrap. I'll put it in the chat, and you can grab the file from there.
That is so awesome. Thank you. And I want to thank Carlo and Sasha. I'm going to turn it over to you. Hey, Russell, thank you for staying up so late in the southern France. Doug Hull, my gosh, what you guys are doing in Santa Cruz. And Tim, I want a copy of everything you do with your landing pad. That was so dynamic. I literally want to do it. And Charles, I had no idea. This was a great learning lesson for me on learning more about France. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, just thank you all. This has been such a great conversation. And I'm just, let's all stay connected. Let's keep this going. Great momentum.
We'll do part 2 later.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.